going to start this fly off using some UTC 70 in purple. Usually I'll start a little bit behind the head, and we'll get a couple of wraps in, and we're going to go ahead and cut off our thread. Next up, what I do for the tail, traditionally crunchers are tied with a pheasant tail, usually a red pheasant tail. What I'm going to use is this Veevus Iris thread. This is the Veevus Iris Black. And what I'm going to do is cut a couple of pieces of this off. And I'm going to use it for the tail, and I'm also going to use it as a flashback in this fly. So about our 2/3 way down, go ahead and tie that in. Make sure when you tie this in, I've got enough for the tail and I got enough to come back over. I'm going to go ahead and tie this on top of the fly, make some touching turns to make sure I get the body all smoothed out, and I'm going to go back on this hook until I reach where the barb would be. This is a barbless hook, size 14. So about right there is usually where your barb is. So I'm going to stop there, make one more wrap, come around it to give it a support, and wrap again. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap all the way back up. Next thing I'm going to add to this fly is our rib. Since I'm using a purple body, I'm going to go with a UTC gold rib in small. Purple and gold go really good together. It's always a good combination. So go ahead and tie that in, kind of on the side here. Make some touching turns, smooth this out. Wrap all the way down, almost to the tail, but not quite. You'll see I leave just a little bitty space, that way when I make this first turn, I don't wrap into the tail. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this body back up. Wrap all the way to the front. And there we have it. What I do now with this stuff, or this tag end up here, is I'll get them together and I'll bring them right over the back. This is my flashback part. And I'll bring the wire over on top of it. And then we can just rib our body nice and tight, keeping that flashback on top. And come over and tie that off. I can break away this piece of wire, do some helicopters. I've got the other piece of wire that I didn't get tied in, but I can fix that. If you get a little bitty stub wire like this, you can't really get a hold of the helicopter, grab some Hackle pliers, pinch it on, and you can nice and neatly helicopter that off. So we've got a little bit of the flashback. So the stuff that's left over from our flashback, we can go ahead and snip close to the wire. And then our tail, as in most nymphs, need to be about the length of the body. So you can kind of measure it with your scissors, find out how long that is, find out how long your tail is going to be, so we can cut it here. This iris stands together right when you first start this fly. So in order to get that apart, if we just take some time and fluff it up like that, or if you want to, you can always take a old toothbrush that you find and give it a good brushing through, and your tail will actually start splitting out and you'll get a lot more fibers in it. You also notice that the fibers in this iris are actually different sizes, so you get a little bit better tail look out of it. And the iris gives some nice blue flashes, you've got some red in there, you've got some black in there. It makes a nice body on the fly. Next up, what I'll do is I'll go to my trusty dubbing, and for my trusty dubbing, that's what I call it, it's this Wapsi Prism SLF. I've become a big fan of SLF here recently. It does great with a good fiber look. You can pull out the fibers, gives a nice sheen to it. I've just fell in love with this stuff here recently. But up on our thorax here for this fly, we will put in some of this black Wapsi SLF Prism dubbing, and we'll build up a little thorax here. I always underdub to start off with because I don't want to put too much on. So if I need a little bit more, I can always put a little bit more on. Wrap it through. When you get up to the front, just draw these fibers back. Clean up the head just a bit. And there we start. Now here's where I really like the SLF fiber. I'd like to have a little bit of flow in this, and I'd like to have a little bit of leg impression. What I do is I take the little bitty Velcro that I got on the end of here. I just brush this stuff out. And I get a lot of fibers. That looks pretty ugly and pretty messy. But I'll go ahead and brush those down. Turn my vise over this way, where I can actually pick these up and give them a little trim to about that size. Turn my fly back over, brush it out again, start brushing it backwards. Give it some twisting. And it comes out to make a nice thorax. For most crunchers, you put on some Hackle up front. The Hackle that I've been using here on these is a furnace Hackle. It's pretty black on the inside of the feather, but if you look on the outside of the feather, it has a nice brown. What I'll do is I'll tie this in by the tip. And you want the dull side facing in. Tie it in on the side. Bring the feather back over. And holding your thread, you can come in here and find this little bitty part that we don't need. Sometimes it's a lot easier said than done. Find that off, hold our thread, make sure it's tight, and we can just break that off and pull that off. And then we can just take our Hackle, drawing it back, you can start making some touching turns and wrap that forward. Usually about 3 or 4 on these is what I find works out extremely well. There's a third turn. There is my fourth turn. I'll bring it up, sneak my thread in there, make one wrap, back through, and then I'll concentrate on my head. Once you get a nice smooth head on this fly, come in with our whip finish tool. And cut that off. If your hackle's small enough, you should be able just to pull and break that off. Make a nice even cut on that. Then we can slick this down a little bit, roll it, check it out. And there you have the purple and gold variant cruncher. Hope that helps you guys out. If you like it, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.